Hey folks, Nathan here from Star Wars Beyond the Films, the Star Wars Reports Rebels Roundtable, the Star Wars Timeline Gold, etc., etc. Bringing you what is sort of a Fantasy Fight Games related item here. I've been asked a few times how it is that I store all the Fantasy Flight game stuff. Now the cards are in binders, right, from the LCG. These, though, these tackle boxes are how I'm currently storing my X-Wing stuff, my Imperial Assault stuff, and will eventually be storing my Armada stuff. I've got another one sitting in the back room that I picked up all at the same time with some Walmart gift cards. These are, I believe the brand is Plano, as in like Plano, Texas, Plano. They are Plano tackle boxes, basically. And each one, I mean, it's the exact same model. It's model 732, but they got a ton of these that have similar model numbers. I mean, the model number's not the big deal. The fact is that the Plano ones that I found all kind of have a ton of storage space. Designed, of course, for people who are fishing, but we can use it here to handle gaming materials, as many people do. So, main thing, you got this front area here that opens up, can slide in. You've got a top shelf that holds one of these plastic containers, and then you've got two plastic containers underneath it that are kind of on their own shelf. It's one on top of the other. It's like two of them stacked here, and then one of them by itself here, because there's different little ledges they can be on. So that top one can keep its weight from pressing down on the bottom ones. In that case, for X-Wing, these are all basically modular here. So in each case, basically, you get it, and there's mostly, you've got, you can have like 2 or 3 plastic pieces that either go straight across or down or whatever that you can't move. Like in this case, this one and this one don't move. But then everything else are these modular pieces you can put in to divide it up however you see fit. Like here down on the bottom, I've only used the one long one there to separate these two out instead of multiple ones. Like I gotta put one there. So in this case, this is where I keep most of the ships from X-Wing. That is everything from all the way up through Wave 5 that's going to be in this case, and this is most of it, though not all of it. I keep another one that does a good job here housing the Outrider, but then the larger ship tokens, the different decks of cards, that's upgrade cards, damage cards for the special ships and whatnot, and most of the tokens that I'll use in a typical game. Another one here has your Decimator there, has the Lambda-class shuttle, ship tokens, stands, and all that kind of stuff that you would, of course, need for the game. But then inside here also, outside of this section, there's 2 side pockets, and each one of those contains another smaller container. So for X-Wing in this case, I've got this one here. I basically just set up so that I've got 2 sections here for the cards. That's Rebel and then Imperial, plus all those reference cards, the tons and tons of reference cards. And in this case, tokens that aren't used all that much, like the ones for specific missions. The other one here is going to be set up for my dice, ID tokens, target lock tokens. They do tend to get mixed up a little bit, as you can see here. Shield tokens, and tons of maneuver dials. The top has 2 sections that open up. One of them is just one big section. The other one's divided in the middle. The divided one I use for the stands, or the bases for the larger ships. And then put the little, little stands for them in the other one. Close that up. And then the top here, let me show you a little bit better here. The top here has 2 side sections that you could put stuff in, but not stuff that's very large. But then I put all the little booklets and the maneuver templates back here, the ruler, and then that large ruler for the larger ships. Here going across, as long as you're careful it doesn't get smashed by that part, it's nice. And then the 2 larger ships, of course, the Tantive 4 and, of course, the transport here. Now, one thing about that, you got to be careful because of how this is structured. You got to make sure that the sensor dish on the Tantive 4 isn't going to wind up getting crushed by any of these parts here. So you just got to make sure that when you close it, it lines up just right. works very, very well, I've found, for X-Wing. Now, if you want to see the one for Imperial Assault, very similar. I actually haven't had to use the top sections at all for this one yet, at this point. On the top open part, it's basically just where I've sat my larger map tiles, the game manuals, and the ATST from the core set to make sure that it's not going to get crushed. Again, you want to, on this one, probably take the gun barrel and point it down. If you're going to do something like this, I found it fits nicely in here, but if I put the gun barrel up, it could still damage the thing because it is pretty fragile and got somewhat bent already because of how insane it is to put that thing together. Then the interior ones, got one here. These are very nice for being able to basically take your different miniatures, put them in here, and divide them up like all the Imperial guards together, all the probe droids and so forth. You got one, put most of our map pieces into there, and the door stands, a balance token or initiative token. And then this other one, plenty of space for more as more expansions and such are released, and many of the tokens like damage tokens, stress tokens that you need for the game all sorted out in that case, at least so far. Then I got one of the side things I'm using, in this case probably better to come closer for you. This is all the stuff for the player to use in a campaign, right? So the different class decks, the different tokens for the characters that don't have miniatures up here across the top, the big character sheets, as they call them, the stickers, the dials, the big one there for General Weiss. And then on the other side here, that's where I've got, kind of like with X-Wing, right, the dice, the different smaller decks of cards here, and the larger decks all kind of stacked up. Over here behind this, that's those sheets. I see from the other side, the sheets that come with the figure pack, which of course at this point we've only got the one of. So I found it personally to be pretty useful. They tend to run about $40 each. That's why I used some gift cards at the time to pick them up. For $40, they're pretty solid. They're going to last you through a lot of waves of the product. Again, the X-Wing one has lasted me all the way up through the end of Wave 5 that had the Decimator in it. You notice the large ships are in there. It's got the Rebel and Imperial Aces packs in there. Only thing that's not in there yet that has been announced that hasn't been added, of course, is the Imperial Raider big ship and that wave with the Scum and Villainy stuff that we're going to see. That hasn't come out yet. This Imperial Assault one, this is just that core set, but you notice there's a lot of empty space and whatnot that I could use and rearrange stuff. So when Wave 1 finally does come out, I can put that stuff in there. So again, just the ones that I would recommend, or just any kind of tackle box that's going to give you a ton of different modular features where you get a lot of places you can put stuff, and the stuff that you then have for your smaller storage has enough things where you can modify it and shift dividers around that you can set stuff up however you see fit. I have found these very, very helpful and a nice alternative to those custom game cases designed for specific smaller pieces, because that way, if you got something that's not those specific smaller pieces, you can still make this into whatever you need for it. So, just something I would suggest to you if you're playing the game and haven't ever dealt really too much with miniatures before.